Welcome to Fort Worth 148's podcast, where we meet to discuss Masonic topics and strive to build value in the Brotherhood. The opinions and statements of the participants do not represent any positions or stance of any Grand Lodge or Lodge and are solely the viewpoints of the participants.
Welcome back, gentlemen, to the Fort Worth 148 Masonic Podcast. My name is Evie Kirkendall. I am the chaplain of Fort Worth 148 and a past master.
Brandy Patton, current Worshipful Master of Fort Worth 148.
And I'm Cody Cox, Senior Warden of Fort Worth Lodge number 148.
Well, it is great to be back with you guys again in the secret sanctum of podcastery.
That's
here
right.
At 148. Thanks to our brother Cody. I'll say off the top, because I have this bad habit of forgetting, I want to say a big shout out to our sponsor right off the top, B&Brew, a great company that we are accompanied by our brother Chris, who is the owner, who is a sponsor, and you can get a great discount. We'll have a discount code for you at the end of the podcast when we're doing all the wrap-up stuff.
And right now, FW148.
FW148. So take advantage of that discount for your great mead and coffee and espresso products.
When in need of the mead.
And Viking
When in
horns.
need of the mead and maybe some caffeine.
Yep.
So
We'll work on it.
He's got,
we'll work on it.
he's got uppers and downers.
We're workshopping. We're
Yeah,
workshopping.
That's exactly
We're
right.
workshopping. It's not ready for merch yet, but we'll see.
The hell you say?
By the way, speaking of merch, just so you guys know, if you hear your sons or your daughters saying the word merch, apparently this is now youth speak. If something is merch.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, and you would well know as the middle school public educator.
Yes, and I'm very glad to say and happy to say that I believe that we are seeing the downfall of 6-7. So we should
We
see
knew that
the
one was
death
going
of
pretty
6-7
quickly.
by this summer.
We knew that one was going pretty quickly.
We're good for that.
So
Yes.
at any rate, well, we've got some great topics lined up for our listeners on deck. We've had some time to kind of make sure that we're ready, and we are ready to take these topics on. So the first thing we wanted to talk about, we recently had a big government event called a State of the Union, the longest in American history. It was delivered
there.
It was definitely
there.
And one of the things that was a feature of this State of the Union that I think many Masons are going to appreciate is the fact that George Washington's gavel was there present behind the president on the speaker's desk. And it got a lot of attention in at least Masonic circles. I'm not sure how many people outside of Masonic circles was paying much attention to it, but well, let's talk about that. How do we feel about George Washington's gavel being part of this big political event known as the State of the Union? Is it something we like? Is it something we don't like? Do we have mixed feelings? What are our thoughts about it? So let's start on my left, Cody. What's your hot take about the gavel?
My hot take is I'm kind of mixed feelings on this. One, because like I know that the gavel is there because it was a representative of 250 years of American existence. It was used by George Washington himself to lay the cornerstone for the government buildings. And so it was used Masonically, not in a civic way, but Masonically. So I'm kind of proud to see it there displayed, but at the same time, I don't necessarily feel in my gut that it has a place like in that room at that particular time. Maybe if it were like out in the rotunda, with other artifacts and things like that, I'd be okay with that. But I'm not exactly feeling the vibes of it being in the chamber with the president, with the vice president, or with all the people that were there. I don't know. It kind of has a little bit of a ick factor to me. I don't know.
I think we kind of focus on it because it means something to us. The fact that it's there, it's an ex-president's tool. That's good enough for me. The Masonic thing, the rest of the people have no idea what it means to us. I do hate the fact that State of the Unions are so politicized now. I don't know exactly when it started. Obviously, you could think it was Trump, but I think it was more Clinton era.
I think it went back. I mean, we could probably go back to Thomas Jefferson, because he's the one who got upset at Congress and just started sending a letter and not even going to the State of the Union altogether.
True.
So it was there was at least some politics infused in it back
Yeah.
then.
At least
too.
during second Bush term, the other side stood up sometimes. It wasn't like,
I think
why are we even
the
here?
decorum of the event being political, I think, has definitely changed over the last.
The idea
few
of people like
decades.
not attending or attending based upon
right, or
And I-
standing up, ovating, or
You know.
sitting with their hands under their legs.
And I look at the gavel as completely separate from that. The gavel
Absolutely.
means something more to me than that nonsense ever could. I just
Absolutely.
hate that I have to see it.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of like split in between the two of you, because I see the gavel as a historical artifact, and any time that Masonic history can be on display, I think it's a great thing. I think that we talked about this a little bit before, that the gavel was used for both civic / political reasons, and there were ostensibly reasons that it was used Masonically that we could all celebrate. So I see its place in that room. The problem that I see with it is the potential of trying to co-opt what that person in George Washington means as a political symbol, and that's separate from the Masonic part of it. I know, but I definitely hesitate to want Brother George's memorabilia used or co-opted by any political party, regardless of stripe, for political gain. And I feel like, to Brandy's point, that political environment, I think, risks trying to make what Brother George was about seem like it's affiliated with a certain party today, or
Yeah.
against a certain idea, or what have you. I think that Brother George was very on record, as was Ben Franklin, about being opposed to political parties at all. So the idea that one political party would want to use this, and I'm not suggesting that that's what the speaker or the president wanted in this event. I'm just concerned about the optics of it.
No, and that's exactly-
I have
yeah.
no internal barometer for what their intentions were in doing that.
Well,
It
and we
very well
kinda-
could just be celebrating.
Well,
Brother
and we
George.
kind of know politically for a long time, even before the foundation of this country, that people in power or people that are in positions of power or parties or whatever, oftentimes will use something that is associated with kind of a national hero or something like that in order to draw connections between themselves and that person. I don't think this was necessarily what the reason that the gavel was there.
Right. I think that if you're going to try to draw parallels between any politician who wants to draw themselves like a line between themselves and, let's say, George Washington,
Yeah.
a gavel is a really bad way of doing that. I think that if you were trying to do something, that there would be much more influential ways of doing that.
Well, what if the president would have used the gavel?
I don't know.
They would. First of all, they wouldn't let him do it. No,
No.
one gets
Yeah,
to
of
touch
course,
that thing.
because
But
it would be
it's-
like the president getting up and holding up the paper constitution.
I wish I could have heard the previous podcast with Jeremy Barnes on the. He's gone over it because Jeremy Barnes is the guy that escorts it usually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reason I can read his name up. But he's got a long podcast on one of our other podcasts. Not us, the old fashioned, I believe he did. And he goes
Okay.
over about how they handle it, and it's cool. And about which president actually broke it.
Oh my gosh.
So it's had to be restored. And like most of it's gold now versus the original material because they made it better.
Right.
But the history of it's crazy. And they store it in a bank vault.
Maybe it's just because we're jealous that they didn't call us and ask for the bell.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
we have the
Our
bell.
bell of historical
Yeah.
repute.
Certainly somehow affiliated with George Washington.
Somehow.
We don't know how.
We don't know how,
We're going to figure it out, though.
but we will one day.
But then
It's as
there
old
we go.
as.
We're going back to the whole idea of we have artifacts that we like associate with somebody, and we kind of feel that by possession of that we draw some sort of parallel or
Or at least have the presence of that individual in our lodge rooms or in our presence
yes.
as a luminary of both, our founding and of Freemasonry, I think that George Washington is uniquely suited for that, and I applaud any opportunity to show the Masonic connections that helped make this country what it is.
I think the only party he would have been a part of was the not a king party.
Or
anti
I think he was the founding member of the No Kings Party.
He was offered a kingdom and said no.
Exactly.
Yeah, and wasn't he president at like 20 or no, he not president, but he was the commander of the Continental Army at like 26 or something like that.
Well, there's a great
ridiculous.
I think the biography is written by the same Walter Isaacson. Don't quote me on this because I'm doing this from memory. But I think it's the same dude who wrote the. Anyway, he wrote Theodore Rex. He wrote Theodore Roosevelt's biographies that won all sorts of awards. At any rate, I read the first or the biography of Washington, and I highly commend it to any Masons because it really paints a very stark image of who and what George Washington was, what motivated him. It kind of makes him seem a little bit like a social climber, someone who was kind of like middle class-ish and then desired desperately to be in the upper class and associated himself with that. Married well in Martha, the widow who had a plantation and
that's right,
enslaved people and all of those things. And
Mount Vernon was her place.
Yeah, it was
Should we call them unfreedom people?
Unfreed people,
unfreed people.
Right.
Yes,
it is, but it's a fascinating
slavery.
story that I think really, if you're interested in the historical Washington, it's definitely worth a read. It's on my top probably 10 books of all time that I've read. Highly recommend. So yeah.
Speaking of national leaders, I don't know if you guys had seen, but there is a certain someone who more than likely listens to this podcast that won re-election.
That suggests
won re-election by I think 500%.
Yes,
a landslide.
Perpetual dearest leader.
A landslide. So
a landslide so intense that each person voted 5 times for him.
That's right. So I'm going to say
congratulations.
Congratulations? Question mark.
Yeah.
We had no idea that would happen.
It was a fair election.
Yes, it was absolutely fair. Absolutely.
No one was machine gunned down for voting against
him.
Yeah.
And all the people clapping. That is the thing that really blows me away is how those I saw a meme about it, how everybody in his cabinet looks like characters from like a game on the Nintendo Wii.
The Nintendo
Yeah, they all
Wii.
look like, they're kind of, and it's very bizarre to me to see how, I understand that they're clapping for their lives, quite literally, because they don't want to be the person who's
not just
you
their
have a
lives,
choice.
their families' lives,
their families and everybody else.
lives,
So I get it.
their future
I
lives.
understand why they're clapping exuberantly, but it's just the
bring
mannerisms, the way that it manifests.
Well,
It's
listen,
very
if
bizarre.
you think that's strange, if you've ever seen videos of the fearless leader's father's demise and where he's
the
like
wailing
the
competition,
wailing, it's like
the people who are
some
like,
of those people are about to throw themselves off of a
if you're
cliff.
Again, the rumor is if you're not seen mourning quite exuberantly enough, then you could end up at a re-education camp.
But on the other hand, the benefit is the organ donor wait list. It's empty in North Korea. Sorry. I'll give my best Korea. It's empty. There's nobody waiting anymore. The organs are filled.
You know what? Maybe it's because I'm slightly jealous. Maybe when I lay down my working tools and I have my Masonic funeral, maybe I want people like wailing at that. Like at my. Maybe I can get somebody.
I will wail.
In my case, it'll be at the banks.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Live life to the fullest.
That's right. So
own nothing, owe everything.
Absolutely.
So again, congratulations?
Congratulations? Question mark.
Yeah.
And in light of everything, just so everybody knows temporally, when this podcast is being recorded, this is the weekend that the Iranian bombings have taken place, where we have attacked and killed the
The
Ayatollah, the just recently. So we're recording it in that context, and I say this in that context that I wonder if the supreme leader is a little, I don't know, nervous,
Shook.
a little shooketh.
He's shooketh.
He's shooketh in the booteth.
Seeing how well his air defense worked, yeah, probably not real comfortable.
I'm sure he's
He has
feeling
the
a
same
little
system that
uncomfortable.
Ayatollah had.
Yeah, and we saw how well that worked for him.
He has Dennis Rodman on speed dial.
He's Dennis.
But we do jokingly say this, but we do know that at least the first time around, someone and someone else had fairly good relations, and in fact, I think even wasn't our president the first president like step foot into North Korea and things like that. So,
I mean, it is interesting to see how this is all going to pan out, which is, I think, an amazing segue, unintentional segue into what we want to talk about as our main topic for this episode. With the world being what it is, and regardless of what political stripe anybody's a part of, I don't think that any of us can turn to the left or to the right, can open any social media app without politics being front and center. Religion is a very close second to that, I think, largely because of the religion's influence on American politics, at least at present. And so, what do we think about? We all let's just stipulate right now.
Mhm.
We all acknowledge that in the lodge room during a tiled lodge meeting, politics and religion is off the table as a subject matter.
Mhm.
We're just going to stipulate that right now for the point of this entire conversation. But outside of the tiled environment, what place does talking about religion and politics, not necessarily in that order, have in the Freemasonic discourse? I know a lot of people have talked about this. There's endless podcasts about it, I'm sure. But I think for us, I think it's a relevant topic, especially given what just happened over the weekend. So what are y'all's take on it?
Well, I just realized today's my 5th Masonic birthday.
Oh wow! Happy Masonic birthday!
And I will
Happy birthday! How do you keep so young?
I will say, since being raised, I've since joining a lodge period, I do my best not to show political affiliation. I think people that know me closely probably have a pretty good idea which way I lean, but it's I hide it. It's not because I'm scared of being attacked. I just don't want to be judged for being. Where am I going with this? I don't want to be a extremist on either side.
Sure.
So, as worshipful master, it doesn't come up at all. I hope no one can tell my political leanings, period, by looking at my social media.
Right.
You want to talk about what I do on weekends? It's different, but
yeah. Well, but even I think that's in today's America. If you were going to be on social media, I think it is probably, and leading an organization like Freemasonry, it is probably wise to make your political intentions a little less obvious.
I will mock both sides evenly.
Yeah. I think both sides are obviously worth mocking.
Yeah, you're like, will you take the red pill or the blue pill, the purple pill, the green pill?
Right.
Trust me, we're all getting pilled.
We're all getting a pill. What do you think, Cody?
Okay, so here's my hot take, to steal something from Evie. When we talk about politics, what I see in the realm of being an American citizen, but also in the realm of being a Mason, is that the reason we're not discussing politics is because we have lost the art of political discourse.
Did we ever really have it though?
I feel like we did. I really feel like we did. Of course, I wasn't alive at the time, but when I know there's always that thing about people look back on days gone by with this kind of nostalgia.
Right.
But when I think about what I've seen on videos back in the 50s and the 60s, now I'm not talking about Red Scare stuff. We know that was big, but I feel like the political discourse, people were able to have it. Um, I personally feel that politics became a extremely divisive topic at the turn of the century. Because I remember,
So when you say the turn of the century, the turn of the 21st century.
yeah, I remember the very first election that I ever voted in was Bush versus Gore, um, and the hanging chads and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember that there were inklings of it with Clinton versus Bush and stuff like that, but it never really seemed that never really seemed as vitriolic as it does now. I know historically that they've talked about around the time of the Civil War and things like that there was a lot of that stuff going on, um, but it just seems like nowadays the reason that people don't want to talk about politics, or the reason they talk about it way too much, is that they have no idea on how to have conversations with each other. So what I'm trying to get at is, as a Mason, I feel like my lodge should be a place where I can learn how to have that political discourse with somebody who may be the exact opposite of the way that I feel about something, and learn something from them, or they can learn something from me, and we can still step away from it going, we're still brothers, we still love each other, but we disagree extremely, from each other on that. And I've seen it happen, and I've seen people, they disagree and then they just move on.
And I've seen people
I think
never come back.
I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
but I think that if I were to zoom in with a little bit of a laser on one thing you just said, I think it's the idea that there was a bygone time whenever political discussions led to just it kind of rolling off your back and it not leading to destruction of friendships or our brotherly affection for one another. And now we're in a time where when we say things politically, it can actually destroy friendships and lodge relationships in a way that I'm
Hmm.
not sure that in, like you were saying, like 25 years ago, that it would. Because I remember my dad sitting around the coffee shop drinking coffee with his buddies, arguing vociferously
Hmm.
for whichever side they were arguing for, or about whatever policy they were arguing about. And they would have their coffee, and then when 9 o'clock rolled around, or whatever time it was, they would roll up their newspapers and say, well, I'll see you here again next Monday, or whenever
Hmm.
it was. And it was the kind of, they were friends, and it never affected their friendships. It never affected their ability to come together and 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 be in a community together. Nowadays, I don't see that same conversation happening in American circles. I was at a coffee shop a couple of days ago, and I saw a couple of Cuban guys talking politics, and I think that they were clearly friends, but they were doing what my dad used to do with his
Hmm.
friends. And I wonder kind of what happened, and why have we lost not the ability to have those conversations, but why do we take those conversations so personally now? I think that that's where I'm at.
Well, I think we also have gotten to the point where, why do we feel, if we disagree with somebody, especially politically, if we disagree with somebody, that I can't have a relationship with you? Like,
Right.
when did it become the idea that if you and I disagree, if I am a card carrying Republican and you're a card carrying Democrat, we cannot like each other? Like,
Right.
when did that
Or
happen?
that if you're a card carrying pick your side,
Yeah.
that you are signing up for everything that candidate says, does, or believes.
Yeah.
Because I know for sure that most of the people that I know who are both Republicans and Democrats, and libertarians and independents, they don't agree with everything that their preferred candidate is running on.
Yeah.
that they are looking at this person as the best representative for who they are and who they are voting for. But they will freely say, no, that person is not the 100% everything I want. I wish that they would say this or do that or be for this or be against that. So this idea that we suddenly assume that because I find out what your preferred voting candidate is, that I think that you're on board with everything that they believe or everything they say, I think is kind of silly. But I is that where the inability to have friendships is coming from?
Well, another thing that you just said that just kind of pinged in my mind was the idea of, well, I know who you're going to vote for. Um, as Masons, we talk about, like, in the lodge, like, that we're not supposed to electioneer. When we vote, nobody's really supposed to know how we're going to vote and things like that. Um, that's another lost art. It seems like as soon as people meet each other, they have to know, like, well, what's your political affiliation?
And they
Who do
use
you?
a couple of different questions to assess that.
Yeah,
Like, what's your position on open carry?
yeah,
Like there's these litmus tests that we have engaged in, that kind of we can suddenly then assume who you're going to be voting for or who you're going to be
yeah.
voting against.
And again, if you
And the
if
voting against might be the better point.
here's something I will challenge anyone out there. I got a chance to go to my first gun show. If you want to see,
I was there.
Yes, if you want to see America
We had
at
fun.
work, go to a gun show.
You went to the biggest one in the Southwest.
I was like,
you were spoiled.
that was wow.
I mean, it takes all people. Let's just be honest.
It takes all kinds. It takes all kinds.
And there were all kinds
And they
there.
were all-
And it was fast. I was there for full transparency, I was there with Cody at the time.
Yeah.
We were there together along with Sean, was not able to join us.
I couldn't
today.
find parking, or I would have been there.
Yeah, and we invited a lot of our brothers to come along with us. And it was fascinating to see. And oddly enough, you could look across that room, and I guarantee you that all parties were represented in that room.
Oh, all of them.
Absolutely all of them.
Gun shows the new lodge room.
It was really
melting pot.
weird. But kind of getting back to the focus here, I know personally that as someone who's in the religious space, I have made a decision that my social media needs to be curated in a certain way, that my politics, for American politics, is not on the table.
Yeah.
That whenever I try to argue or make a point, that I'm trying to make a point from my theological understanding of those things. And I've had conversations, and people will disagree with me. I've had conversations with people to point out that, in my theology, I don't believe that God loves the United States any more than God loves Iran. And I think that is triggering to some people. But whenever I post things theologically, that's kind of where I'm coming from, is my
Right.
theological understanding. There is another venue which I think every man has one of these. We all have a text thread or a group chat of somewhere where we all kind of like,
Single chat.
yeah, or something, where we can kind of vent as we are wont to do. One of the things that I discovered is that every once in a while when I would vent, it was bothering other people, even in the group chat. And it was brought to my attention, and I had to really I had to take a moment and be like, wow, number one, I can't control other people's reactions. All I can do is control what I'm doing. But I also have to be responsible for the emotional wake that I leave behind. As a person of faith, I think that that's important. And so then I had to start thinking to myself, have I been doing the political dump that everybody else, does, and not really being aware of its effect on other people and perhaps alienating people? And it really made me ask this question about, like, how much, and this was all like this chat is all Freemasons involved. And I was kind of like, wow, I really need to have a good I look in the mirror about this to make sure that, like,
Yeah.
if I'm causing harm to someone in that way, or I think harm is a strong word. If I'm doing a disservice to my friendship with someone else, then I need to rethink what I'm talking about. And I think that maybe that's where our rules against politics and
Or
religion
maybe
sit.
that person is too staunch in their ways to realize that there are
I,
different opinions, and maybe
well, I
has to
don't think that
respect
they
it.
were. I don't think that they were. Simply because they shared with me their opinions, and we had a good talk about it. And I apologized for my over exuberance there for a
Are
period
you
of
still on the
time.
Christmas list?
We're still on the Christmas list.
Okay.
We're still great friends. As a matter of fact, it's somebody that I respect immensely. Um,
I told
but
you
it
to
made me
apologize
think.
to me.
He
You
made
did.
me
So.
think. Well, Cody, if you just hadn't been yelling at me the whole time, but it really made me rethink like my own approach to talking about politics and thinking about.
I've got certain memes I won't share in that group that I really want to, because it's like, I know it's gonna come back to me. It's gonna be bad.
You know what
Yeah.
strikes me is I think what when you were discussing, and again it just hit me, when we look at discussion of politics as Masons, as men, as a society, maybe where we went off the deep end was, what is the purpose? Is the purpose of discussing, politics, is it to strengthen our community? Is it to have that exchange of ideas to find the best solution? Or is the purpose of political of a certain political discourse just to beat each other over the head to where we finally
I'm
just
right and you're
give
wrong.
up? It's like, am I trying to?
I win, you lose. That's
We hear this trite thing all the time about, being on the right side of history. Are people that desperate to feel like they're on the right side of history, that they just kind of they sacrifice,
well, as if anybody is out there actively trying to be on the wrong side, whatever that is.
yeah,
wrong.
that
And
that
I
is
understand
true.
the point
It's a
that
nuance.
there's a lot of nuance to it, but I think that if I'm being as gracious and extending as much grace as I hope to extend in all moments, I have to assume that people who disagree with me politically are also people who love this country immensely, who want the best for us and all of our citizenry, and maybe just disagree about how we get to that endpoint. Because we obviously share the same endpoint. The end goal is a prosperous, thriving, wonderful community of countrymen and women who all are going in the same direction towards prosperity and
that
making an impact in the world that is positive.
and that may very well be the starting point where we all have to go, listen, we
all
disagree,
want the same thing.
but we all want the same thing. And I hear people that are either listening to this podcast or watching it that are fellow Fallout fans, like screaming at us, going, I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing. But if we can all, maybe this is where we should start. Everyone should start, and specifically Masons. We should start at the lodge level, saying like, one, we know we're not going to talk about politics in a tiled meeting, but when we're at lodge and political discussion comes up, we've got to start at the same spot, knowing that everyone that's taking part in this conversation has to recognize and realize that we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to make things better. We just have different ideas on how to achieve that. And I think if we kind of recognize that, then the conversations are going to take a different turn.
They're going to be much more curious, rather than
Confrontational
judgmental and confrontational.
Yeah.
There's going to be a level of curiosity and introspection in the way you approach that. Because I love learning about people who believe differently than I do, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's in some other subject. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And if I approach them with confrontation, well, I'm never going to enrich myself and our society with more knowledge being shared. And I also think that as a Freemason, we have been given tools, perhaps of a working nature, that that help us, or that should help us. And I think the compasses
Would one of those tools be what we started the podcast with? A gavel?
the gavel is certainly one of them, but I think that I honestly think that is a tool that perhaps should be used as, if we're doing our jobs as Mason on the front end, that shouldn't be a tool that is necessary to be used in lodge or outside of lodge. I think if we were to look at the compasses as being a prescription to look inside and draw lines and boundaries about what is a good behavior and what is not a good behavior, what is going to lead me into fruitful conversation and relationship with others, and what is not. When we look at the boundaries that is designed to create in our lives, I think suddenly it comes into stark relief that we as Masons are uniquely positioned to start having conversations about politics outside of tiled lodge rooms that are more led by curiosity and introspection and judicious language. And then if that can ripple outward in the same way that our philanthropy does, if we can spend as much time and energy, or even a fraction of the time and energy that we do on some of our other philanthropic endeavors, trying to make our conversations as rich as those philanthropic endeavors, then I think that it's going to ripple outward into society writ large.
And the other thing is that, let's be honest, that is another way that we as Freemasons can separate ourselves from society at large and make ourselves noticeable as those good men that we talk about, is the fact that we can have these conversations in public and even in private, and people can see, well, I know that they might be, politically, opposed to each other, but they're still really good friends. And
I remember the stories of Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill being great friends outside of the political theater. And I remember people like Antonin Scalia and Ruth Bader Ginsburg being great friends. And if they can do it, people who are literally, like, I can't think of a
oil and
person,
water, literally.
Yeah, I can't think of a person more opposite of Antonin Scalia than Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and vice versa.
Yeah, and they shared recipes.
They went on vacations together.
Yeah.
They were like best buds, and they spent so much time together, despite the fact that they sent scathing emails to one another about their decisions. I mean, it's fascinating. And if they can do it, why is it escaping us?
Even Bush and Obama hang out together.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
they hate each
to
other
see
for
the Obamas
16 years.
and George W. Bush's family together, they are, I mean, it is heartwarming. It's almost saccharine how nice they are
You're
to
like,
each other.
oh, that's really kind of neat.
They are just genuinely kind to one another. And it's and to see Michelle Obama and George W. Bush's relationship whenever they are together, I mean, it says something about where politics begins and ends. And I think because they're in the milieu of politics, they probably understand those boundaries better than anyone.
They're grumpy past masters.
Yeah, they're grumpy. Like, we can go hang out as grumpy past masters.
I can't yet.
And you're getting pretty grumpy.
You're almost there.
You're almost there.
4 months.
I can see the grumpy index increasing.
That's right.
Zero patience.
Zero patience.
We're gonna put a picture of you at the beginning of your master year and the end. And
We should start doing
dear
that.
God.
Oh, dear God. It's going to be like presidential pictures before election and after they leave
40
office.
pounds and about 6 inches of beard. So
Yeah.
We'll
I
see.
mean, it's kind of crazy.
People are gonna be like, where did
The
they
same thing
hide
happened to
you?
me, too. Like, my beard was down to here. And then after I left the East, it's where it's at now. That's crazy.
Well, I had the
You better hold on to that beard, brother, because you're next in line.
mine was dermatology. It's coming back.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's right. You had a facelift.
Well, okay.
I had a cheek squeeze.
It kind of interesting here with this conversation. Brandy, I want to ask you specifically, because I know that we have experience with this, but as worshipful master, have you had any experiences with brothers discussing politics at lodge, and have you had to do anything to maintain peace and harmony? Um,
Not really. I think I try to run a super efficient meeting so we don't get a whole lot of discussion going. The discussion we do in committee by design, that's the way it should be.
right.
Uh,
But I mean,
I,
like, also, but I mean,
I've
like,
gaveled little.
outside of the lodge.
Oh, I've had people come cry on my shoulder. It was awkward.
Okay.
And yeah, I've dealt with some
I
delicate
told you
things.
not to tell people about that, okay?
I mean, in that situation, my brothers helped immensely,
Okay.
and Evie in particular was very helpful in that situation. I can't elaborate any more than that, but not really. I mean, I think we've got a good group of guys. I'm very blessed with our lodge.
I would say that 148, we are fairly blessed with the fact that we have all kinds of political affiliations and stuff, and it never really seems to be a huge
I have
problem.
gavelled a meeting very quickly before to shut it down, but that's just because I didn't want it to go a certain direction.
You could kind of feel the rumblings of it.
Yep.
And you were like, yeah, you got to recognize that. And that's the weird thing, Evie. I don't know if you had to do that, your year.
I never had it anything specific in lodge.
Right.
There were a couple of spicy moments like leading into a lodge, into the meeting when we have our dinner. A couple of spicy moments then where I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is like my first meeting, and this is happening." And then there was I will be honest, and I think I can say this in a podcast. If I can't, we'll edit it out. The only problems that I ever had my year was not in politics in terms of national politics or local state politics. It was Masonic politics that got in the way of my year. And I had to have conversations with members about that is not appropriate to say
That'll be our
on
next
social
episode.
media. And we have a plan to talk about this on the next episode. But yeah, that was the only kind of politics that I ever had to deal with where I had to go to a member and have a conversation with them, a respectful conversation.
Yeah.
But a conversation nonetheless about you have these feelings about Masonic politics, and I'm sorry, but that is not okay for you to post because you are a member of this lodge, and it reflects poorly upon 148 in general to bring such attention to us.
And I will say, I've had some experience with using the gavel to kind of like, you felt the rumblings coming, and if there's a worshipful master out there that says, "Oh, I can't wait to do that,"
It is the grossest
no worshipful
feeling.
master wants to do it
It's
because
gross.
it just makes you feel icky.
You're going to hear about it for months.
Yeah.
And it's going to be something that's going to be remembered.
And it may go to the Grand Master.
And unfortunately, though, that's what you're tasked with. If you're starting to feel those rumblings of people bringing things into the lodge that are inappropriate, that if we're talking about politics or something like that, and specifically politics, if you start to hear those rumblings, then it is your job as worshipful master to make sure that you're preserving, again, that peace and harmony. I will say one thing when we talk about peace and harmony, and with politics and things like that, I think oftentimes at lodges, people hide behind that in order to.
Yeah, people weaponize peace and harmony a little too easily these days.
Well, they either weaponize it, or they use it as a shield.
Right.
To like, well, I don't want to talk about that. Peace
I think
and
it's
harmony.
six one way, half a dozen
Yeah,
another.
Peace and harmony.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I still don't have the tattoos, but I'm working on it.
Hey, you're like,
I don't have the fingers for the harmony.
Well, you have enough fingers.
Harmony. I'll do harmony.
Yeah.
Harmony. Peace. Peese.
Peas.
Yes.
Peas.
We're switching to harmony.
Yeah. Peas.
I do want to
harmony.
Since we're talking about past masters using the gavel, I just went through the virtual past master degree in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Neither one of you've done it, right?
I've not.
You've been, Chris,
the virtual pass.
It's the second. You do your Mark Master, then you do a virtual past master, then you do the most excellent master. They're usually side by side.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
It's anyways. You can any master mason can go through the degree. You can do it in a Blue Lodge. I recommend it. You learn a whole lot about how to handle that problem.
Yeah, and I've been through the
secret.
York Rite degrees, and I remember.
Well, then you did it.
Yeah.
That'd be
Okay.
your second
And
degree.
actually, I went through that degree the same year that I was master of Tarrant Lodge, and it brought such an understanding to me of like, you better pay attention and keep you keep the ship, there. And so it was actually really impactful. But again, with the idea of politics, talking about these things, starting at a common understanding, not hiding behind things so that you don't have to discuss this because it's uncomfortable. I am probably one of the world's largest proponent of we need to talk about things that make us uncomfortable, because the more that we do that, the more comfortable we become.
I can vouch for you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that we've kind of really had a great full circle conversation about this, starting with the gavel that was at the State of the Union, and then ending with the working tools that we have available to us. And the gavel isn't officially, I'm pretty sure I'm not hallucinating here, that it's not officially on a list of working tools, is it?
Well,
setting maul.
Well, you
Well,
have.
I mean, but I think that I'm thinking of the gavel as separate from the setting maul, though.
Well, you have the common gavel.
Yeah,
that we talk about,
But even that, I'm kind of thinking of it separately from that. But I think that let's lump that all together then,
Yeah.
and use that as the language. I think it is interesting that at least in Texas work, the working tools that we're talking about here are in the interdependence degree, and it is, I think, really, it just fascinates me that is.
Well, you would think with that one. I think I'm catching your vibe here. It's the idea of like, these are the things that we learn early on.
Right.
Why are they still the toughest things?
Why are we? Why
5,
are we
10, 15 years down the road?
And I will be the first person to admit as well that I'm not sitting here suggesting that I have figured out how to talk about politics outside of Lodge with perfection and with aplomb. I have made plenty of mistakes with that.
I can see your fist shaking as you're texting things.
Yeah, there are times whenever I get a little spiced up, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah, if anybody listening or watching this podcast thinks that the three of us schlubs know exactly everything and like we're perfect, we are not.
I am not speaking from experience of perfection on this. I struggle with my opinions. Evie's hot takes notwithstanding. If you listen to this podcast, you know that I'm probably I have some strong opinions, and even some of those strong opinions that I had, I might like backpedal from now. But I think ultimately, though, the point that is this full circle moment is that we really have to be judicious with how we approach politics. But we can't, I think the lesson that we've also kind of come to is that we can't just abandon it as though the unspeakable subject, because what that leads to is an inability to talk about the subject. And suddenly where we're at now,
yeah.
Which is everybody gets offended if you say anything political, and they take it so personally. It might be less offense. I think it might be taking politics way more personally than we have in the past. So reflect on that and do with that as you see fit.
If I can just mention, if anybody's watching this podcast, just look at the back wall and know that anybody that takes part in this podcast, we don't shy away from political things. I mean,
but we also do it with a great degree of silliness.
Yeah, I mean, it's who would have thought that those two people would be on the wall at the same time?
Right, exactly. So we are definitely not here to tell anyone that they're doing something right or wrong.
Kim's teeth look a lot better.
He got dentures.
Yeah,
they're not made out of horse teeth and slaves.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was his sister. Oh, never mind.
So with that, we'll circle back around and just remind everyone we have that discount code with our sponsor, B&Brew. 10% off if you use the code.
It's easy. FW. Which stands
FW
for Fort Worth, and then
148,
FW 148.
and you will get 10% off of your next order from
And you
Bruce.
ship to every state now, or most states?
There's like a couple of states, right?
Majority
like
of
2 or 3
states,
that you can't.
35.
But if you go to their website, you will be able to find which states they can ship to if you are not listening to us from the Texas.
The Texas.
If you are in Texas, you of course will. You can stop by their meadery here in lovely Fort Worth, Texas, or you can get it shipped to wherever you are at. That great, great Texas ingredients.
There's usually a free shipping promo if you buy enough.
Right.
Just depends.
Yeah, use your promo code, use the discounts available to you to get free shipping. Buy yourself some delicious coffee, buy yourself some delicious and refreshing mead or big and bold
Maybe
mead.
a hatchet.
Maybe a hatchet,
That's right.
maybe
Or axe.
maybe
a drinking
a drinking
horn.
horn. Yes, if
Vote
you want,
using your coin. We're going to use
Right.
that political term.
yes,
Vote using your coin.
be the Viking you've always wanted to be. So, thanks again to B&Brew for sponsoring and filming this episode.
You don't have to be a Viking to drink meat. It's delicious.
It is delicious.
I'm not a Viking.
Um,
Not even close.
yeah, thank you for being part of this, everybody who's listening and watching. Like and comment. I can't emphasize
And
this
share.
enough, people. Please
Like, comment, share.
tell
Hit
us
that
what you think.
subscribe button.
hit that subscribe button and click the bell to receive notifications when a new
Ooh, we're
episode
sounding like real
is
YouTubers
available.
now. Ooh.
Sign up more accounts.
Sign up. Yeah,
Make 5 Gmail accounts and follow with all of them.
well, I wouldn't go that far, but
I did.
we're not that desperate.
5 different computers
Well,
watching
maybe
at once.
maybe you are. But
like an
we appreciate
influencer
it.
in China.
The more you interact with us and share our content, the more likely other brothers who this content will be valuable for might come into contact with it. Let us know what you think. Send us topics that you'd like us to hear about. We see every comment. All 3 of us do at some point or another. So if you have a question, a comment, tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why we're right. But with that, gentlemen, with nothing else on the table, my name is Evie Kirkendall, and I'm signing off.
Randy Patton, sign off.
This is Cody Cox signing off.